Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
Yeah, I know. Because I can't get right. This is cutthroat. This burns as words pop from a snub nose. This Kurt Metzger and not give a fuck mode. Because I can't get right. Because I can't get right. Yeah. You're listening to Can't Get Right.
Hey, this is Can't Get Right with me, Kurt Metzger, and I got very special guest, America's Sweethearts, I think is the right nickname for them. Ryan Long and Danny Polishchuk. Is it Polishchuk?
Hey, Polishchuk.
Polish cock. And it's just a couple of dudes known to show up on time.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think you guys need to put your computer privilege above me.
Just a couple punctual men that we see. Kurt wants us there at 5. We take that seriously. He's lollygagging around, putting beard cream in.
The beer's looking good, though.
It's I gotta trim it actually, but that's nice of you to say. I appreciate it. How's the old BOYSCAST doing? I keep seeing clips of it on my YouTube's feeds.
Clips channel's cooking, yeah. The numbers keep going up pretty steadily, so very cool. We were talking about we might do a few live pods. Did you ever done Can't Get Right live?
No, I should though. I'd like to. I got to.
I'll tell you a good one that we just covered recently. That I was just thinking about again today because everything's about normalizing stuff, and then the guys have started. Yeah. It's all about normalizing kind of weird shit, right? And then
basically mostly pedophilia, but.
Oh yeah. Now Danny was saying that today. The right hates pedophilia, and the left. What were you saying? The left hates everything else, whatever.
Yeah,
Trump,
just don't touch them when they're adults.
Yeah. But the guys have started to get wind of this and use it. And there was one where they started saying that guys who can't get it up is just non-normative erections. So.
So just erectile dysfunction is called a non-normative erection.
It's just a non-normative erection. I don't know why you're putting
They somehow figured out a way to call their soft dick an erection.
Is it
still somehow shoehorn that in?
You're dating some Brooklyn chick and she was like, you can't get it up. And you're like, wow, it's called a non-normative erection. You heard of it? If anything, they could be more pleasurable. You just have to open up your fucking bigot mind.
It's like scooping mashed potatoes into it, as Keith Robinson would say. Wait, but that's not even an erection, though. I mean, I don't.
It is now. It's just a non-normative one. If that's the thing.
Can you show us your glass again?
Yeah.
You're drinking out of a.
It's a measuring cup.
Yeah.
That's it is a good as far glass. As I'm concerned, this is an erect cup of water right now. All that stuff kind of swishing around inside. As far as I'm concerned, that's a rock. This is a non-normative ice.
Yeah, you should be drinking out of a Pyrex measuring thing, and just don't bring it up. Just take sips out of it occasionally.
That's non-normative ice in there.
Okay, wait. So this is the only thing I don't understand. Is a non-normative erection? Was this an article you read, or is this a joke that?
Yeah. No, I was in an article.
Yeah.
But it's not an erection. It's the opposite of an erection.
Well, that's the thing. So you see erection as binary. Exactly, right? You're living in an erection binary.
I have 2 erections?
Good.
Erections are a spectrum as long as you're not a 0.
Erections are a spectrum is a great.
Not to be
well, you can literally
not to be confused with Danny has sex when it's erections on the spectrum.
I got to bring that up for when you do the Blue Chew spot later after the episode. Are you sick of having these non-normative erections?
Exactly.
Would you like phobic full erection?
You're phobic full erections. We want to bring you into the 2022 century with a full.
No, you guys are both giving me a huge erection. I don't want to. I want to make.
I'm hard right now. Yeah, that's why I adjusted the camera up just to see my face. I was trying to tone the erection down with that cup of non-normative ice.
Do you guys? Fuck, I forgot what I was gonna say. This is why it was a really.
You were going to say that you support pedophiles, but Just slip it in. Have you seen that? That is really, really popping off on because the same reason the right wing guys always sort of had a taste for telling people what to do or whatever. They found that's the big moral one of that's their you don't make fun of trans people.
Well, USA Today just like had the thing that they deleted their tweet and they're like, we don't know everything about pedophilia, but it's not like as bad as everybody thinks, or like something to that effect. And everybody's like, what?
Yeah. They do have a point that, on the other side of it, it's, Huffington Post being like, actually, my dad's a pedophile. And it's pretty fun.
It's pretty chill.
USA Today was like, literally, they were also like the Huffington Post angle. They're essentially saying like, look, just like, because you're a pedophile doesn't mean you abuse kids. Like you just might like be a pedophile, but you don't like do anything.
Yeah, but it's a pederast is where you do it, right? Is that?
No, I saw, Vito. Yeah, you guys know Vito. He was like arguing about all these people online about this recently.
Wait, Vito, the YouTube guy?
Yeah.
The one that was
at Netflix,
like Trash My Friend, that had Alex Jones on, and then
he's always getting into trouble, but he
had to make up for it by going to the Chappelle I talked to. You introduced me.
He's always getting everyone mad and then redeeming himself.
What's the guy's name? That's your friend that I met?
Dick Masterson.
Yeah, because when I saw that, I'm like, I bet that guy. Because I heard Dick Masterson kind of like taking him to task for that.
He's always making fun of him.
And,
they got a funny relationship.
And he told me, he's like, yeah, I made him go to that march to make up for his fucking stupid.
Well, he was arguing with a bunch of people because his point was sort of like the two sides of it. The one point is essentially like, well, listen, like there's all these pedophiles that they can't go get therapy or whatever because essentially, you have to essentially tell people that you're a pedophile, and there's so much stigma on that.
Why would you ever bring it up?
Why would you ever bring it up? Right?
Take it to your grave and don't touch anyone. That's your option.
And I guess the argument on that side is that, which is kind of Louis touched on this in his special, but the argument on that side is like, if you actually were to say, we accept that this is a problem some people have, then maybe we could treat it, and then that would lead to less kids. But my argument, which I don't think their argument is like whatever, just they should be the wood chipper.
So conversion therapy is what it.
They're saying that about conversion therapy, essentially, right? But I think that any sort of history shows that the more you normalize things, it actually makes it happen more. Like if you look at something that's not good, like a positive or a negative thing, like even like a type of music that like, they might say this is a weird thing to listen to, like a fucking some weird like goth noise music, right?
Well, look at
the more you're like, oh, it's actually fine to like it. But the more you talk about things, like things just become social contagions. So I think the more that you sort of like accepted it, there would be potentially certain amount of people that it would help and certain more people that would probably act on it because now they'd be able to find their communities. It's the same thing as when you send people to conversion gay camp and then you just actually put a bunch of gay kids together, you know what I mean? And then that'd be more gay. I think if you, especially on
makes them more gay.
They come out of it twice as gay.
We got some bad news. Come back. He's actually.
They went in. They were just like a normal gay guy, and they come out. They're doing the parties with the leather, the whole thing.
The poppers.
They're doing poppers. I think it may just make people find their communities, and probably the aggregate would probably be more pedophiles. I think, but whatever. That
you don't think that the amount of pedophiles is just fixed regardless of the culture?
Well, you could say that about anything. I think that there is a certain amount of people that, like, for example, the trans thing, there's a certain amount of people that were that, but then there's a certain amount of people that are, the amount that people are flexible with things is also a part of their, like, there's certain people that are very, like, easily swayed by social contagions. Certain people were going to commit suicide. Certain people are going to commit suicide when it kind of becomes a social phenomenon.
Hold on, question. Is contagion a Canadian way of saying it? Or are you just saying it like you're contagion?
No,
I'm fancy.
Because
I say
TikTok,
contagion.
On fucking TikTok, that's a thing where everybody's copying the cool Tourette's girl that has all these tics. So then a whole bunch of girls now have Tourette's.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, they were like, we talked about that on the podcast. There was like,
I thought it was you guys.
Yeah,
like, it's called TikTok. You get some TikToks from it. When you, also, there's a.
What was her thing though? What was her Tourette's? What'd she do?
We play a clip of she goes, "That's gay, Kyle." That's gay, Kyle. She burst out. So we were using it as a clip on Kyle's show.
She said, so her gay character has TikTok? So her
she just can't help it.
But she's not a character. She has
I thought she was saying like, But she's like, I thought you were saying it's multiple
For no apparent
personalities.
reason, she'll be talking and just says, "That's gay Kyle." There's no Kyle. She's just saying Kyle because
That's
Oh,
her
that's
correct.
one of her quirks.
That's
Yeah.
one of her.
Well, you
her
had that
tics.
sort of quirk, Danny, that every time you were looking in the mirror, you say, "That's gay Danny," and it was sort of part of your thing.
But dude, that thing you just said before about making it more normal, I think you're right because you know that tribe in New Guinea that they're different now. In the 90s, they kind of dropped this practice.
Called Quest from the 90s.
It's called a tribe called Quest. It's in New Guinea. Like, you know, that's where there was like headhunters and stuff still, and like I think the
all the
cargo cults are New Guinea. But not, you know, all the tribes are different. It's just one tribe, their manhood or their right of manhood was like basically the boys have to just suck a guy's dick a lot and like and they make it awful. It's almost like torture, but not just the fucking
Right.
dick sucking part. That's probably the most pleasant part of the awful things. And when anthropologists would talk to the tribe, they're like, yeah, we don't actually like this, but it's like, how else are you going to become a man, you know?
Right.
That's the only way. So what I
It's like a
think
lacrosse team, sort of.
yeah, you got to put a
That
pine
seems
cone
like
in your ass to
talking
give
yourself.
110%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think
It
that's
happens in that tribe in Africa, and then it also happens at Yale lacrosse frosh.
well, it's everybody does the same shit wherever you go, except what do you make rules about? And then that creates like that's what I think. It makes like a
Yeah, no, I
mutation.
think so, yeah.
like everybody has pedophiles, but then depending on the laws, it'll start affecting society. So like Greece or whatever, like that's, you know, that's like such a, did you ever see the Alexander the Great movie that Oliver Stone made with that Irish actor is Colin Ferguson? Is that his name? Colin
Farrell?
I don't think so.
Farrell. Colin Ferguson's the
I
Long
don't
Island
think
shooter.
so.
Colin
Craig
Farrell.
Ferguson's the other guy.
Colin Farrell
Colin
played.
Ferguson's the guy on the subway, right?
Yeah, that's
Who
wrong.
shot
one,
up the
but
subway and then he defended himself. I remember this SNL.
yeah, he did a great job too. People don't give him enough credit, but for a crazy guy, he really. So he would like ask witnesses who he shot. Did you really see me? Like, yes, I looked at you shooting me.
Oh wait, he represented himself.
Yeah.
And he was like, and they were like, they would be like, point out who shot you, and they like pointed at him, and he goes, I think you're not remembering this correctly.
Oh my
It was,
God.
like, insane.
Yeah,
Yeah, he has
Colin
his hair done
Ferguson.
all different, and
So, but Colin Farrell was Alexander the Great, and in that movie, there's a scene. His dad's Val Kilmer, Philip of Macedonia, right? And he's abusive and shit, and he has one eye. And they show this big party, and he grabs some dude who like works for him, and just drags him off to rape him, basically. And the guy's screaming because they're just having a fun party, right?
yeah.
And then I found out later that's not what actually happened. And then the guy kills him in the movie. The guy who he raped
They
kills
added
him.
that in.
No, they were lovers. They weren't. It wasn't rape. All the guys just had a boyfriend.
Do you think his estate was kind of like when you do the movie, just like make sure that everyone knows I
You think
wasn't.
Philip of
Yeah, Philip of Macedonia's estate.
well, the guy who killed him. So
Don't
the
make
guy
him
was
seem like he's some fairy out here. You know what I mean? It
The
happened
real-
against his will.
yeah. Well, it's a weird thing because the real story is more interesting, which is that's what they. Well, I guess they got to take it out for movies that people, you know, like the Spartans aren't as cool when you realize that it was like required to. You know, we had no gays in the military. Well, the Spartans, you had an older man partner that you'd fucking suck each other because it created more cohesion. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not fighting for my country. I'm fighting for the guy next to me whose dick I suck. Like,
Yeah.
That's
And,
one way of team building, I guess.
Another
it's team
reason
building.
not to
That's
join
what
the
it.
army.
Yeah,
It was
and that's
like
what
one
you're
of
saying with
army team
lacrosse.
building.
For real, like those things are
Right.
team building exercises. Some are just more extreme than others. But
I mean, get a girl in there, and then it's double team building exercises that I can get behind. No pun intended.
no, that'll screw
little
up the
better.
army. It's got to be guy on guy,
Yeah.
or it ruins cohesion. You're not listening.
Yeah. As soon as a girl gets in, you go. "Which
Yeah,
one?"
no.
I mean, it's
They
clear
can
Ryan's
each other
never been
out.
in the army.
I think there's a move by like certain like, you know, academic like fucking. Hold on, sorry. It's fucking Kyle. That's so gay, Kyle. Sorry, I have a tick.
That's what he said. He goes, "Hey, I heard you." He's like, "I wanted to give you a shout, get some team building next Thursday."
Dude, I noticed a move like like around the Trump time, you know. And I was
Deep
dating
throating.
I was dating Annie, and like before we were dating, she was in a whole like I hate men. I feel like politically I should be a lesbian, even though I just can't get into eating pussy. You know, like there's like there'll be like
Theoretically,
social there's like social moves. I mean, fucking Lisa Traeger's a lesbian now, supposedly.
Well, I mean,
And I don't
that's
believe
actually
her.
the contagion Ryan's saying. It's like there's
Yeah,
like,
that's the
Yeah,
contagion.
once it becomes
yeah.
so
And I
it's
mean,
just-
you even see with girls, it's more likely. Girls are more likely to change behavior based on, social circumstances.
That's
So that's why
right.
contagions affect them more than guys, right?
That's
Contagions.
or guys that are like kind of girl like.
Well, feminine, masculine, yeah.
Yeah, like so that's, I know, like in Hollywood, that's, you hear like actresses, they all know, suck a dick or watch Harvey Weinstein jerk off in a plant. There's all these stories. Also, the dudes, the bunch of dudes are like have to do like gay shit on the down low to like make it, like,
Yeah.
and then they're not
like
gay.
The Corey Feldman thing was his whole thing where they all have to do all this crazy shit.
Well, and also kids.
Yeah.
It turns out Hollywood has something for everyone if you get into the casting side of things. Pick your hole that you like, and they have one of every variety. I guess that's what you did before the internet. You got into Hollywood casting.
Yeah.
And so that's like social, like, because I'm like, what is social contagion really? Like, I get it's the thing that spreads, but like, why does it happen? And it's like, even more than the things they normally say, that women are more agreeable.
Well, for starters, it gets in your head. I mean, it's like,
but being popular,
you wouldn't even know like the path, right? The more it's popular, the more you're like, oh, that's an option.
But
it's an option now.
But women are more agreeable.
What drags people to it, or I think, is the need of like, well, I gotta have like a successful middle class lifestyle, like, and if you make parameters to achieving whatever that lifestyle is that you should have, like, the only goals. So, for example,
But it's like natural, like, that is just when straight up incentivization behavior,
right? When the guitar comics that who as you know, Louis famously was in trouble for asking for consent for a thing that had no contact, and their whole thing was, we were scared, which was, I don't believe them. Like, they were scared, if we don't do it, what'll happen? What were you scared of? What they were afraid of was, what if I don't get hooked up in the industry later because I said I had autonomy over my own body to say, I don't want to watch you jerk off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I noticed there's a mental thing. All these fucking articles you read, like Atlantic style kind of articles of, the type of thing where like a chick's like, my boyfriend's sexual orientation is ruining our relationship kind of articles. Those kind of people, they all think in terms of like, okay, the first greater good is that I'm a successful and I achieve all my fucking career and dreams and shit. That's the number one greatest good. So anything I have to do along the way, then they make so some of these people were like, well, if I had to choose between my career and not watching a guy jerk off or not sucking a dick, like, I'm going to suck a dick.
Yeah, it's there's a no-brainer.
Yeah. And it's like, it is cultural, but it's weird to see like how often these things can like come up again over and over. And ancient Greece is like, everybody has to fuck a guy, but I see that shit coming up now. And the more it gets where you've got like an extremely like wealthy people that are so ridiculously rich, they could fucking pay to make media and entertainment tell you to be gay. Like, they have so much money. They're like, I think we need a lot less of this like breed. And then ultimately, it's like cutting down on the breeding population. Because now I'm starting to hear shit where all these countries are worried about their population growth.
Oh, it's
and
the
fucking
biggest, it's a big issue.
Because everybody does, even immigrants, they all do the same shit when they come in. They're like, oh, we should plan ahead a little bit and not have all these kids. Like, the survival strategy changes once you have a little bit of like, and
security. Also it changes a little bit when you're like sort of in a culture that values like individualism as well, right? Like,
for sure.
Yeah. So you kind of get into
that's not even necessarily in Japan. Like, Japan they're actually not an individual culture, but
that's a good point.
They just think fucking's gross, and so they don't want to do it.
Dude, what I love,
Japanese girls,
they literally are like, they think it's disgusting.
That's why they have tentacle
I can't
porn.
imagine they do. That's
that. They have the reason tentacle porn's the thing is because back when they would be carving dirty pictures in wood blocks, it was illegal to show male-female penetration. So to get her, but you got to jerk off to something going into something, right? So they would draw pictures of octopuses fucking the women. That's where the tentacles come from. It's octopuses. And so being weird about a regular thing creates an entire like side perversion.
Oh yeah, and it's like real. Like they're saying that Japan in like the year, I think it was like 2100 or something, is going to have the same population as it does today.
Oh, yeah, maybe. I mean, that's gonna be all of us,
which is crazy.
That's because they won't take immigrants, right?
But even immigrants, though, it doesn't
impossible culture to assimilate to.
The thing is, I was just watching a thing about this, and the immigrants will come in
just because of the blurry.
That doesn't raise birth rate. That raises the population of the country. But once people get here, and if they start getting, start making it, then they don't have kids. So it doesn't
Yeah.
really fix it. It just creates more old people. And that's, I think Spain is like one of the most fucked up places with that, because like their wealth inequality or whatever is all people over 50 or 60, because the way the pensions and shit work. So if you want to fire someone who's over a certain age, it'll cost you like $250,000 Spain bucks, whatever they use. But you can fire a younger person without having to worry about the bureaucracy of like how the state pension thing. So now they have this bizarre situation where all the poor unemployed people are young, and so they live with their parents, and all their parents have jobs forever that they can't get fired from, like the worst excess of a union job, you know?
We kind of talk about this a decent amount, but it's like, even because right now there's all these like protests against this stuff in South Asia, where it's like the 20-year-old guys there think they're getting a bad shake or whatever. And it's like all of these policies that like rejig everything, because they'll be like, oh, this helps women. It's like, well, it hurts men or whatever, but really it hurts 20-year-old men and doesn't hurt 60-year-old men, right? So it's like you have to. It's like there's like one more. Yeah, there's one more thing in the like intersectionality, which is a huge
but
thing.
I don't get, because the basic premise of the intersectionality doesn't seem objectionable. Yes, you're different based on different things about your, like I don't know why you need a class to learn.
Well, but then you go, these are the only 7 of them that matter, though.
But then they don't. Yes, right. And then you just get tokenism.
That changes.
But then they don't, like, for people that are talking about intersectionality, or especially if they also like the environment, like they don't. The stuff that is hurting these men is also hurting women their age. Like you can't like harm one gender and whatever. It's going to ultimately harm the other
especially once people start getting married and stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah, and so
you say the household just has,
well, the people you hear saying the stupidest feminist shit, like the clucking hen yenta nonsense, the
not ringing a bell.
You live in New York, so you know a bunch of, and I was around there long enough to see from when I was in my 20s to where the Sex and the City gal ends up. And it ain't pretty. Like, for most of them, it ain't pretty. Like, they don't marry Mr. Big. They just get older and crazier, and they go on Twitter a lot.
Yeah, it depends on your
angrier.
Yeah, and that's not everywhere. That's the cities, and the cities are set up where they fuck you over more if you're not, poor, you're fucked wherever, right? But that class of people that are like trying to strive for the Liz Lemon having it all in the city female version of Scarface thing that they thought they were all going to get, they're fucked the most, because then they don't have kids. Half of them should have had kids. They weren't the unique snowflake.
That's the thing. Some people aren't unique, but some people are. There are.
I don't think if I don't have kids, it's not. I'm not going to have.
But it is. It kind of goes back to the normalizing thing, where it's like, yeah, if you are, is a certain type of person that's like cutthroat. I'm gonna get what I want and blah blah. Like, I was listening to like, Tucker Max.
Oh, dude. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, he was on like James Altucher podcast, and I remember he's like kind of had some things that I like, but he was sort of talking a lot about, that everyone kind of enters these hierarchies or whatever, whereas really you need to leave the hierarchy. And it was just like, yeah, if you want to leave the hierarchy, but it's like, you're not playing the game anymore.
What hierarchy is he talking about?
Well, he was saying whatever you enter, like comedy has its own hierarchy. You know what I mean? And everyone's kind of, it was very like, he did acid, and it's like everyone's living in like the schism of these hierarchies, right? And it was like, what you need to do is escape the hierarchy. And it was kind of like, yeah, what you're just saying, you like don't play the game at all and now be like this other guy that's sort of outside the system and make that work and whatever. But for some women or for some people, you are set out to like, I just like when Arnold Schwarzenegger always says, he goes, when I was here to be the strongest man in the world or whatever, when he was winning the competition, my fucking car could get robbed, his dad died and he didn't go to the funeral. He was like, all that I care. And dude, it's true, you could say that about kids thing. They might step out after and be like, fuck, I wasted all this time doing this thing, but at the time you were trying to win. So I think some people like are very like, I'm here to fucking win this goal. So, but other people aren't like that. And then when they start playing that game of like, all that matters is my career, it's like, nah, you're not this person. You'd be happier just having like a life you like and a fucking.
Well, you know what they do? They go, I'm saying
you're not built for that. Like, you're not built for that kind of life.
Yeah. Like when I got in stand up, I already failed out of a bunch of other things. So all my eggs are in one basket. So it was like, and I definitely, when I started, I had like, ooh, I want to be famous. Like when you're young and you think that's a fucking great thing, and then you slowly realize how shit works, and maybe that's not what you want.
You kind of made a career and kind of.
No, I did. But what I'm saying is,
it worked.
I was into the thing. Like I was into comedy itself to the exclusion of all else. And
Yeah.
I didn't realize how many people were like, you know, they're like, well, I want to be an actor, or they were into the shit they imagine you get from it the most. So I think people aren't honest.
If you're into acting, you probably should like being famous or whatever, because it's like, I don't know, just like my whole day is just watching acting tapes and studying acting. It's like,
I mean, you should suck a dick to get there too. You're a
or
whore.
just suck a dick.
Actors are whores.
That's how much bullshitting can you do, right?
Yeah, it's literally just lying.
Dude, Kyle's making me laugh so hard yesterday because he picked up Alec Baldwin pretty quick. That impression of Alec Baldwin.
He's good at it.
Oh yeah, dude, he put up.
I saw the one you just posted. Yeah.
So we did a whole episode of just Alec Baldwin, and Kyle, like, he really does know how to nail, because he's like, I can act my way out of anything. Like
that's pretty good. Yeah.
And he picks up on their, like, Alec Baldwin impression is he's like whispering, but he's losing his temper by the end of the sentence. This Kyle picked out is hilarious. Like he nailed it. And then the thing that we worked on with it is like when you're mad, always go back to smiling. Like, no, it's okay. It's okay. It's fine. It's okay. Like reassuring them.
He's seething through your teeth a little bit.
Yeah, and it makes me laugh so goddamn much, that act. And it's like this I don't know if you've ever watched anything about Alec Baldwin aside from his gun shooting interviews, but he was in a movie called Seduced and Abandoned. Okay, it's still probably on HBO. It's a documentary about him and James Toback. You know the director James Toback?
Yeah.
So he got
Me Too, right?
Yeah, because he would get young actresses to pinch his nipples while he jerks off in the park.
That's so specific.
And he's like a fucking scumbag. So they want to make this movie. It's all about how they're going to Cannes to get funding for this movie. Okay, this piece of shit movie they want to make. I'm like, why don't you just fund it yourselves? No, that's beyond the. Of course not. Like, and they're demanding all this money for a movie that is basically like Last Tango in Paris. Did you ever see Last Tango in Paris?
No.
It's like a cross between 9.5 Weeks and Last Tango in Paris. Last Tango in Paris is the Marlon Brando movie where he fucks that chick with a stick of butter. It's
yeah. And then
it's the one,
and that's the one where she came out and said that basically she tried to do a Me Too because she
about that.
About that, because she goes like, I didn't know that was going to happen.
Oh, he improv fucking her with butter.
They didn't. Yeah,
he ad-libbed that.
That's just non-normative sex.
Yeah, and she said, she goes, I didn't know that was going to happen. And then like 40 years later, she was like, that was not okay.
The things that he's saying in this like dirty movie, because I always heard of it, but I'm like, it's not like her actual sex, so do I give a shit on a porno level, you know? But the dialogue they show this in Susan Abandoned. He's saying all these dirty things to her. He goes, and I want you to get a pig. I want you to something about a pig. He wants a pig to die and fart in your face while he's coming. Dude, it's so funny. And it's stuff that came right out of Marlon, like his deepest. And this director, the director.
That was when he was like old and gross too, right?
No, not quite gross yet. He was just middle-aged, but he hadn't hit full gross.
Everyone's just silent on the set after they say cut.
Yeah, I would argue he hit full gross in this movie, but it's an Italian movie, and the guy said Marlon Brando wouldn't speak to him for years because this guy had coaxed that out of him, like his most inner whatever. This is a guy that would
like Marlon Brando was like kind of like, I don't like where you just took me. I don't.
Yeah, Marlon Brando, like, it's not a Me Too, but it was that kind of thing of like, you took advantage of me. I didn't know I was going to be, and so that's an interesting thing actually in the documentary. But the thing that I love the most is Alec Baldwin and James Toback trying to get funding. So first, this guy Avi Lerner, who's like an Israeli film. Film.
I've heard.
He goes, and so it has to be Nev Campbell. What it is it's like Last Tango in Paris, and 9.5 Weeks, like, but in Iraq during the Iraq War, a really conservative reporter and a really liberal reporter, female, they end up having like really intense exploratory sex into Crete while the invasion's going on. Okay? And by the way, Alec Baldwin's explaining this to a young actress he's trying to interest in the part. Because it's like really exploratory sex. Like, do you think you would be interested? And the actress goes, the way it's described, no. It's so unintentionally funny. At one point, Alec Baldwin goes, to make it in this business, you have to abandon everything. You have to abandon something like your family, your family. And I'm like, oh, that's a remarkably candid thing he's saying, right? Then there's a pause, and he goes, and I just couldn't do that. What the fuck? He's such a pompous idiot. Okay, and
It's just like everybody else is shitty, but
yeah, they're trying to basically get funding from rich Jews for a fucking. And I mean, Avi Lerner's like, so they wanted Nev Campbell. James Toback was like, we need this much money. We're not doing it without Nev Campbell. We're not doing that Hollywood bullshit where they say not the person. And it's pretty clear to me watching is that James Toback wants to fuck Nev Campbell. At the very least, film simulated sex with Alec Baldwin and Nev Campbell because he's a fuck. You can just see it oozing off of him. And
nipples.
And so Avi Lerner doesn't want to fuck Nev Campbell. Basically, is like with his actress and no, and he names like Scarlett Johansson. He names all the actresses that are fuckable now. Yeah. And so they're like, okay, we'll ask around. And then somebody offers them a small amount of money, which should be all it would take to film a fucking softcore porn with Alec Baldwin. Shouldn't take millions of dollars to film this independent porn. Just make Crete on a computer or something. And they're like, they can't believe that they're getting jerked around like this half the time. They just can't believe. Then they interview other directors about what it took to get their movies made. And the other directors are such pompous fucking dipshit.
They're crazy.
Francis Ford Coppola, my girlfriend at the time I was watching pointed this out. She was right. Like, he's got this scarf and he's like, and it says like, yeah, after I made God, they wouldn't let me make the movie I want. So I took all my Oscars and threw them out the window and they shattered. And then my mother went outside and got all the pieces and glued them together, or she took them to the Academy to get replaced. And she was like, what is this asshole just threw his things out the window like a baby and his mom had to go pick it up and clean it for it? Like, that's exactly who these people are.
Yeah.
And that's like, and they shit. And so it's just hilarious that like, the one actress, she was like German or something. She wasn't an American actress because the quickness of saying no to this piece of shit, like nightmare project. She, it was like probably worse than Rust to just have to be on the end of his ice cream
That
gun.
is the funniest move for like the Alec Baldwin's type, where they decide to make a movie that's like mostly them fucking hot chicks.
Yeah,
that like you're actually kind of gonna have to do the scenes.
Brando did that when he was 40 or whatever, or 45, and Alec Baldwin's like, I'm like a Brando of my time. And it's time for me to start thinking about.
Nick Cage is doing that now. He does movies where it's like 9 hot chicks, they're all fighting for him, and he bangs them all.
What movie's that?
His whole new catalog, and they're all like a little bit campy. So he's sort of, because Nick Cage is sort of
an
like
iconic fucking wacky
right, but that's now he sort of like was becoming a laughing stock, and then he sort of tried to get out in front of it by being like, no, yeah, I was trying to
some
be
shit.
Like, this is 3D chess of me being like wacky. So, but it was kind of like
leans into the whole like
he leans into the like I'm sort of like being zany, but it was sort of a chicken and egg situation. I think like his movies weren't getting taken seriously, and he was like, yeah, that was the point. That's
Well, I would say probably
but he's always got to. But,
you know what I would say is he probably is 3D chess because the industry is fucking stupid. Like I don't think he. If you watch like Raising Arizona, he's fucking tremendous in that.
Yeah, he's like, made a lot of good movies. He's always like anyone. Then he started cranking them out, and they weren't hitting.
Yeah, he's like either like great or terrible. He's one of those like guys famous for that. Where
I like him. He's like one of my favorites.
Yeah, but that's the thing. What you just described is the industry's like, oh, he's a laughing stock. He's not cool now, and so
he made some real stinkers.
Oh, dude, they're like memes. Like he's given us a lot.
And I liked a lot of them too. So, but they're like objectively bad. But the new ones, everyone he has like, dude, he's 60 years old and he's got
Con Air's like one of his. I think it's one of his worst.
Well, Con Air was great.
The movie's like the great.
I was like 10 when it came out.
No, I just mean his southern accent is
terrible.
He did a better one in Raising Arizona.
Yeah, but those action stars were corny and it was like positive. Yeah, but then he, whatever. He's done the Seagal route where it's just so insane. But my point more is that he's 60 now or whatever, and every movie he has like 2 or 3. The last one I watched, he had 2 or 3 people trying to fight over him, and then the girl's daughter wants to fuck him too. And
what movie was this? I do want to know what it is so I can look
basically the premise of the movie is the girl has secret powers where his wife dies and he has secret powers where he can bring people back. The girl can bring people back to life. So she brings back to life his ex-wife, and then the daughter and his ex-wife and the new girl, they're all trying to fuck him. And he's just like, he just has sex with all these 25-year-olds and he's 60. I can't remember the fucking name of the movie.
I thought you were going to tell me she can bring people back to life, but she has to bang Nicolas Cage to activate her resurrection.
No, she has to get strangled is the premise. So Nick Cage has to strangle her so she could bring back.
Are you joking or is that the premise?
Dead serious. That's the premise. But
Oh,
then
he's
Nick
choking.
Cage's old wife comes back to life, but she comes back to life in a 20-year-old's body. It's the most bizarre movie, right? At one point,
It sounds really interesting.
at one point of the movie, Nick Cage is banging the girl, and they look at the book she was reading, and it was a book written by Nick Cage. So they try to put these like funny things in the movie too.
Oh, I hate when they get too fucking.
Well, that's
meta.
him trying to say like, yeah, we're trying to be funny, but like before that, he was probably like, no, but this script is pretty fire.
Yeah, that's the pompous fucking actor thing like that is there's this point where it's almost like it's like a Burt Reynolds kind of arrogance or something where
Yeah.
it becomes like classic, like, oh yeah, that guy says he's the best. Like, or remember Robert Evans, the producer, had the kid stays
I
in the
remember that
picture.
guy. I remember the Burt Reynolds stuff though. When he told, I remember Burt Reynolds, wasn't he the one out there saying like, yeah, sometimes you got to beat your wife every now and
No. That's Sean Connery.
then. Sean Connery.
Sean Connery's like, sometimes you have to slap a woman.
Yeah.
He told that to Barbara Walters, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
And then they asked him to
slap them?
apologize. Then he got like a gotcha moment, right? Where someone brought him on after that.
I think
being
years
like-
later.
Years later, they brought him on like a gotcha show to be like, how do you look at this moment? What do you have to say about yourself? And he goes, I don't see anything wrong that I said.
Yeah,
He
do
fucking
people
doubled
not get
down on it.
something? Sean Connery is Scottish. Has anybody ever been to Scotland? It's
Yeah.
You know. What do you think they have?
He's like, I'm tame
Non-slappable women.
I'm tame for Scottish standards.
Yeah, like
Yeah, I
he's
said
not
only
headbutting them.
sometimes you hit them. He goes, I said only sometimes you hit them. I know friends that you go,
slashing their faces.
yeah,
said
and I didn't even
sometimes
say
you
warning
gotta.
shots.
And technically, let's say you were being attacked, okay, like with a knife by a woman, and you just slapped her. You had to do it. So I think he did nothing wrong. Don't get me wrong. I think he did nothing wrong. It's technically true. No, he said it real cocky, like, yeah, I'm fucking James Bond. Have you not seen James Bond? You got to slap these. I had to slap Pushy galore.
Yeah, they do start believing they're the people. But you're right.
Why wouldn't you?
Baldwin is probably the top of that pile of like just engulfed in his own fucking smelling his own farts.
Because he came from like, and he was like very handsome. Like he's, I mean, now
That
he
is
looks
true.
like-
There's a few of those guys. Who's
Yeah, like there's Glenn Ross. Like,
Yeah, and he's a great actor too. Nothing wrong.
Great actor, yeah.
Yeah,
in
like-
his mind, he's still a heartthrob. That's a lot of these guys' problems too. Is They used to be
Yes.
like the hot guy. Who's probably the most of that's Chevy Chase. When everyone's like, he's such an asshole. It's like you have to remember he was like the fucking
Yeah,
heartthrob.
right.
Now it's just some
He
old
was the
fat
most-
guy, and he hasn't updated his brain.
He was the most handsome for a comedian.
Yeah.
Was Chevy Chase.
No, it's like a girl that's like a smoke show that like gets really fat and gross and still has the energy of like, I guess you'll buy me my dinner, and you're like, what the? This is 50.
Does that had that happen to you? Like you?
Yeah,
took
I'll
out a chick-
Venmo you the request.
Wait, is that a thing of them like? Is that a specific incidents that you're talking about of a girl
I'm
that
sure-
was super hot?
Well,
and
I
then
think
she
a lot
became
of times I think it's a lot of times a girl that was like super hot her whole life. And then when she turns, kind of starts to get in the 50s and doesn't update her mind that like, yeah, I'm like a mom or whatever now. She sort of still wants to get the old benefits. And then she just starts to be like, her only way to do it is
if
like,
they're a
fucking
narcissist,
everyone's assholes.
If someone's a narcissist, they're a narcissist. So like, because I know plenty of people like chicks. I can think of two people off the top of my head who were like apparently like really fucking hot back in the day, and they put on weight and they're totally not they whatever that was, they snapped out of it. But that they probably were never.
They snapped out of it.
But they probably were never like that. The narcissism's a thing. It's easy to get into if you're as gorgeous as a young Alec Baldwin.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
competing for
essentially-
attention.
For a regular person, it's the same as just like if you were like, a big celebrity and then you're not a celebrity anymore. And you're
Yeah,
like
right.
walking around and you're
or
like,
a
why
rich
aren't people,
guy
like,
that,
why are people like stopping me in the street anymore and bugging me? Because you're not a celebrity anymore. Nobody cares. Like,
Yeah, why isn't every guy not just like, doing everything they can to help me at every given moment?
The saddest, I think, thing of that cycle of people recognize you in the street to how far it could go is the Rick Moranis story of Rick Moranis and everything. Now people just punch me in the face in the street for no reason.
yeah, I know. And he's like, I'm retiring, going out on top, like Derek Jeter style. And then they're fucking like,
Yeah, and he got punched. And I don't even think it's because he was Rick
Old
Moranis.
cock.
I think
no,
he
he
was
was just Jewish in the fucking upper fucking old Jewish guy in the Upper East Side.
somebody must have just been evicted and had a axe to
Look, the guy's like, I swear, he looked exactly like my landlord.
Rick Moranis punched in the face randomly like a common Chinese American lady, like a common elderly Chinese woman. He was punched by a black guy.
The subway.
How, is that epidemic of black on Asian crime, has that subsided?
I'll tell you when it subsided.
I mean, it's just not, they just don't publish.
They're not talking about it.
Well, the reason is because everyone got wise to the fact that it was like black dudes doing it, and then they were like, well, this is a useless piece of information for us now.
What agendas does this further?
Yeah, what are they gonna do with that? They're like, black guys are punching Asian guys. Like, okay, what? Like, who does this? Who's gonna use this information?
Yeah, because that forever they were like, Asian people keep getting punched, and then they're like, let's show the footage, and they go, do we have any other footage? Can we do a negative? It's like, possible can we get a negative of that footage? Just
can you get a still frame of a MAGA hat and just when Olivia Munn, I saw this PSA. In fact, here's how creepy, by the way, the internet is, where it like spies on you to what you. Because me and Kyle were trying to figure out how to do Xi Jinping's voice for the Fresh Prez thing, and like we tried. Kyle was doing like the bad guy from Raiders of the Lost Ark, but that sounded racist. We got a Chinese guy who works at the comedy store to do it. It sounded even more racist with a real Chinese guy.
Yeah.
And then we're sitting here joking about like trying to figure out, and we figured out the gangster thing. But we had this conversation in front of his computer. His computer started running Stop Asian Hate ads on everything, which I suspect is because like.
Also, even better though, if you were kind of out here being like, let's go punch some Asians, that's that, and then the Stop Asian Hate thing comes on, and you go, you know what? They've been through enough.
Hey, like, computer is right.
Yeah.
My years of hatred is now washed away by this Olivia Munn. So anyway, this ad comes on of Olivia Munn, and it was after that massage parlor shooting, where that was one where the media was like out of their minds, because it wasn't a hate. I mean, I guess a hate crime against like, women or prostitutes. You could
that's what it
argue.
was. Yeah.
But the guy,
he and Danny barely made it out of the parlor alive.
Well, this Olivia Munn goes, there were like 7 something were killed simply because they were Asian. I'm like, no, that's absolutely not why. The guy,
the guy literally
was addicted. He was a Bible nut who thought he was bad for going to whorehouses. And so, if anything, he liked Asians
like
a little too much.
That's like saying someone bombs a bank and it was like an anti-Semitic like terrorist attack.
But also, when people do hate crimes and then they get, people do hate crimes and then they get caught and they go, usually they're pretty proud of their hate crime. They're like, yeah, that's exactly what I did. Like, that's the point. And they asked him, he goes, no, it had nothing to do with that. He's like he said himself, they asked him, they go, was it like, because they're,
he had a message about prostitution.
He was like, I'm addicted to going to this place.
But like, generally the people who do the hate crimes, they're like, was this a hate crime? And he's like, yeah, that's fucking the point. Like,
yeah, if a hate crime falls in a forest, I mean, there's no point in even doing it unless you're getting the message across.
I know, like it's past the debate on hate crimes because it's a thing, but at the time when it came out, it didn't seem like it seemed like kind of a thorny thing, because as soon as you hear something like hate crimes are up, I had this comic Suba on a couple episodes ago. It's just something. Yeah, Suba. And I've heard this a million times. I just heard it was like, when Trump was in office, like hate crimes went up. And first of all, what are the crimes? Is it like assault, or is it like someone put somebody thought a pull string was a noose on their garage or something? Number one. Number two, what are the races committing to hate crimes? Because when I looked it up, the ones
is it LA, someone writing something in a message board? Is that a hate crime?
But even the violent ones, like in California or LA specifically, was Mexican on black. Like there was gang shit. Like
gang shit. Then they're putting that under the hate crime category.
Yeah, but a hate crime could be 1,000,001 fucking things, ranging from like, oh my god, to like, I don't give a shit. So it's very strange to have a thing that encompasses everything from like salty language to murder. Like that.
Dude, I saw an article that was like a bit ago that said racism is at an all-time high. That's what they said.
I think it probably is, because when you figure in anti-racism, then it doubles.
Yeah. I was thinking that my group chats got out when I saw that article.
No, what it 100%, I think it is, and it's not. Yeah.
We might be, but also I was thinking it's funny, like the idea that when they were like all of the racism that happened before, they weren't actually that racist. Like all the stuff, lynchings and Holocaust and all the stuff that happened over the years. Like No, they weren't racist. They just were like, we got to do it. So it's like the people are more racist now. They were just doing worse stuff.
Well, okay, that's a good example. That's a good example of a loose. That's a loose. Again, a loose term. Like, what does racism mean? Does it mean somebody's thinking something bad of me, or does it mean they want to kill me because of my skin?
It also doesn't matter because whatever one you pick, it's not at an all-time high. That's just like it just isn't. But if you
define it, see, the whole trick is how you define.
Probably slavery was higher. I would say that might be a time when racism.
I mean, it's realistically, it's at an all-time
there.
low. Realistically, it's literally an all-time low.
In America,
it might not be an all-time low. It might be lower.
Look, I'm sure this was some person
ago.
who was I'm going to guess millennial or younger, and nothing happened before they were born. Always.
That's probably what a lot of this is.
From when I was a kid, what I would say the cultural fucking racial shit now is more fucked up 100% by a lot, and it's like fashion. It's basically like
no, I know what you're saying. You're saying racial tensions, but if you're allowed to
racial tensions, that's probably a better way to put it. But the funny thing is circling back to the institutionalized kind of discrimination, like that's the thing I find and
well, that's not what they meant, but I know what you mean.
No, right, but it goes back to that social contagion thing we brought up at the beginning, like
contagion.
Oh, excuse me, contagion.
Contagion.
That got around. I watched that social contagion go around as soon as it became the thing. Well, what does a popular actor say? And then people would start babbling these things at me that I'm like, do you think this? And no, they didn't even bother really to read it. They go,
no, Kurt, we think this.
Yeah, no, it's like, where do you fucking who's that guy Mayron? You know Mayron?
I know Mayron.
Yeah, Mayron. Yeah.
So he's the king of
he does the
making a big a vague bad point and then backpedaling away from it when you ask for any kind of specifics. He's the worst. If he comments on anything political or whatever, he always say, but sometimes he'll let shit slip. So the last time I did it, that guy Coleman Hughes was on the Seller podcast. There's a couple, and he got an argument with Mayron, and Mayron
Coleman did.
Yeah, and Mayron is all about white people or white males are bad. Every dumb fucking girl thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I like Mayron as a dude. I mean, he's a cool guy in person.
I got along.
I don't
with
know all
him.
his politics. I don't have him on social media.
When I met him, I got along with him famously. Actually, I was like, "Oh, this is a great guy." Yeah, I had him on my podcast with Sherrod, and he said the craziest shit to me.
Right.
He goes, "If you didn't have your arm around some mediocre white male comics, Kurt, you would have been shown the door a long time ago with your antics." And I was like, what antics? What mediocre white male I had Abby Rosenquist on, who's a female comic that I just helped get into a fucking club, and had him I'm like, what mediocre white male comics am I bringing around? What are you talking about? He back. No, I don't want to say. So he's a guy that doesn't know any specifics. He knows a vague, gossipy kind of cool kid vibe about whatever, and he knows so he says this shit to Coleman. He said something so stupid. I can't remember what it was about, but when everybody pressed Mayron why, he goes, Coleman, put it this way: where do you want to land? And everybody's like, I don't know what that means. I knew exactly what he meant. He meant, are you with the cool kids or are you not?
Against us, yeah.
Because there's a very silly, he's the one that got the charge for Jeff Singer to get fired from his thing from some, he wasn't at this incident.
He wasn't the original one, but I think
he had a grudge because Jeff Singer told him, listen, I've seen gay. You got to do a little more than just be gay. And so he got, which by the way, whatever you think about Jeff, that's a fair fucking point.
He said that to me and I was like, dude, I'm not gay. And he goes, huh.
So he's real and so that's a guy that very likable, right? If I talk to him, but he's all on board, and that's that I'm gonna make it and whatever, and that thought of oh good, someone's out of the way, someone's I'm gonna be with the I had somebody tweet this at me all the wrong people like you to me recently, and I was like,
according to us, yeah.
I think a man tweeted it, which is crazy. I don't think it was a middle school girl, because that's the kind of shit you would say as a young female. All the wrong people like you. But that statement, whatever essays or whatever bullshit anybody reads, that sums it up more than anything. It's, do the right people
There's right
like
people
you?
and right and wrong.
So once the right people are into something, if the right people are into boy fucking, that's going to be the thing. A bunch of people are going to go, yeah, we got to do that.
The problem, 100%. And the like problem with that kind of line of thinking is when they say the right people, like the implication is the people with the right opinions, but really,
they mean
the people with the power, the people that can help you,
CDC.
right?
Yeah. So
no. Okay, so I agree with all that, but I'm saying, but like the reason for it is the reason why those are the right people to them for most part is because those are the people that can help your career or the people that kind of taste make and that can choose things, right? But the problem is that's all been like changing so fast. So a lot of people are stuck with just like, you know, trying to get in line with a thing that can't even help them, which is even fucking gross. Sir.
It really, it's kind of like the good part of the fucking true prophecy of the world ending in 2012.
Well, it's really like, it's like you're a part of the church and they're like, oh, all the fucking, top church people are getting, all these hot wives and we're giving you all free money or whatever. And they're like, dude, that program is done. And you're all like, the fucking God you're still yelling and screaming every day. And you go, dude, they stopped doing that like 4 or 5 years ago. Like you can quit this. And you go, no, there's probably one more and I'm going to get it. Dude, one more hot wife money package.
The thing that's so creepy is it's one thing in like entertainment, but that's like that's why when you say racial tensions are all time high. If I think about it, not like in person
on the internet. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost entirely. It's like, what do the chattering classes say in their fucking
real
media?
Life, yeah.
And that's where the tension is. A bunch of these people, like,
was this guy a comedian or no?
Just who, Mayron?
No, the guy who tweeted all the wrong people.
I honestly don't know what the fuck is the deal. Like, what happens is these people all like kind of, I thought he was just trolling me, but he wasn't. It was somebody that was saying that was mad. I've heard this twice from two people that they were fans of race wars, and it's always somebody's like, oh, what are you gonna complain about cancel culture? Somebody fucking said to me. I almost never use that term.
You had a good point about that, Kurt. I've always tried to tell you your points, and then you never remember saying them.
I don't remember any of them. Is it because I'm smoking?
Uh-oh. Did you freeze? That's okay. Well, you had a good one that it was from a clip of yours, but you said, people say cancel culture isn't real or whatever, and you go, well, it's real the same way money's real. If people believe in it, it's real.
Yeah, right.
Isn't that a good point, Danny? He goes, yeah. He's like, well, nothing is real, but it's real if we all believe it. Like, you know what I mean?
Have you not heard of NFTs? It's a similar scam.
Yeah, it's like if they go, oh, you get fired if you make fun of the boss, and you go, there's no law that says that. It's like, well, it's a law if we all believe it's a law, and the people fire you for doing it.
But the thing that makes me laugh is this like, I'm sick of hearing like, oh, I made it. Okay. So, and I had this where they just didn't read the whole thing, and then they like apologized. But I said, I was watching 30 Rock. I'm like, couldn't make that show today, mostly because Alec Baldwin shot and killed someone, right? Okay, so it's the misdirect is that I'm like doing. Somebody just read that first part and was like,
no, it is a bit corny being like sick. The baseline take on cancel culture, of course, which is why you have to fucking misdirect it now.
Yeah, it's like a good right. So somebody's on a hair trigger that they're mad at, like, I'm sick of these comedians complaining about. I'm like, okay, number one, I try to never use that term. Number one.
Dude, I'm just as likely to have a conversation with someone who's like, fucking isn't like this TV show problematic. I'm equally don't want to talk to that person as someone who comes up and they're like, do you ever notice that like things are a little too sensitive these days? And you're like, I can't go back.
But that's not the thing. Look, I hope people say that over. Like, this is why I don't get like, oh, is it annoying to hear about it? No shit. Is it annoying?
But okay, I agree with you, but I would say it's more. I would say, okay, it's kind of. It's not that.
How you think I feel hearing about it?
No, but every time everyone's talking about something, you're just like, okay, well, I don't need to have this conversation. I like the same way I don't want to talk about Big Bang Theory, where it's like, you know what? If the guy that fucking doesn't pay attention to this stuff thinks this, you go, you know what? It seems like the work here is done. Like everyone thinks this. Now you're preaching to a choir.
That's the thing that I think is great is because what I realize is you don't have to use the buzzwords for people because people just know the things as buzzwords. I
don't use the buzzwords, yeah.
So
try not to.
One time when I was an idiot that would talk on Twitter a lot, some chick, her name was Princess something, and a whole Daily Dot ran a whole article about how I attacked a Twitter personality. Mm-hmm. And I was like, she said all this like shit that was like racial and I'm like, I mean, that's just like racist. I just said it was racist, not even like, in like another sentence describing what happened, but they seized on this and they go, he then said reverse racism. Everybody kept going, oh, you're saying, and I'm like, I've never used the term reverse racism. That's a very stupid term. But if you just say someone's racist who scientifically can't be racist by social science, oh no, you're the same idiot.
Yeah, they're like, well, oh, I see what you're saying.
racism.
They're kind of like, oh,
it's a trick. It's a trick.
We already have a term for this, which we've debunked.
That's right. So it's a little fucking trick to take the point. Like it's like gain of function research when you see the back and forth of Fauci and Rand Paul, and Paul's like, did you do gain of function? He goes, no, we did nothing. And basically, I'm like, Rand Paul, just ask him, what did they do there? Can you just describe the experiments? I don't care what it's called. You made a virus more deadly on purpose. That's what they did there. All they do is play with the definition of gain of function. And so it's like, well, it doesn't meet the definition of that. But the only reason I even know this term is because that's what you did. And it started getting out that you did that. Like, so that's how everybody dodges around. And it's like, it's amazing to see it so institutional from like a stupid Twitter argument to watching it happen in like a congressional hearing. That whole thing where like the personal is political, that make everything's political all the time. Now everybody has to conduct themselves like they're in a campaign against a terrible opponent, and they can't be honest. They have to be dishonest because we might not win. But you're supposed to do that for every area of your fucking life. Like if something a woman did that lied and whatever, but we can't help men overall or whatever. Like,
but people have slowly started stripping away those areas of their lives where they have to be like that. And a lot of people over the past, 4 or 5 years have started to design lives, yourself included, where you kind of don't have to do that anymore. And once that reaches like a pretty high amount of people, you're just like, well,
I mean, right.
It just
everybody's working from home, so you can just you just hit the mute on your Zoom and you just get all your racism out in one little fucking like an unkinked garden hose.
Exclusively, if you like, I've never said that political correctness is killing comedy. I've never said shit like that. No. It's not. Really, comedy is the only way you can express.
The worst is like you saw this week is like Steve Harvey is like, yeah, he's like, I can't. We were talking about it, but like he's like, cancel culture is ruining comedy, and you're like, yeah, if you.
I mean, it's what it's doing is it's ruining the mainstream business. Like they suck, and it's also ruining. Yeah, just saying your thoughts. You can joke. That's the only way you can communicate without risk. Is if cleverly encoding it in jokes. Saying what you actually like. Dave Chappelle, the recent getting mad at him was not because of jokes, is because he doesn't think trans pussy is real pussy. I mean, literally that, and I watch people like argue about, like you saw Patton's fucking thing where,
obviously I'm on his side, but
well,
Team Patton,
like he's in this like weird corner because he's one of the last of the castable white male comedians, and he's got a wife probably spending up his money. He's got some former actress wife so that access and being in that clique is probably people like don't ever want to leave once they get in, no matter how weird it gets. And he's got
those guys also that like kind of come from like the nerd sort of world that like, hey, probably wasn't Mr. Popular growing up, and now you're sort of this figure everyone looks up to. Those guys are not very equipped to go against the mob. They're only equipped to be like sassy in the mob, like and one of the reasons it doesn't work as
and they
good
never
also.
say anything really that gets the mob.
Chappelle's equipped to go against the mob.
That takes like a certain type of person. Like Patton Oswalt, probably guys like that have probably not gone against like consensus many times in their life.
This is the thing. Patton is both, because I remember, in fact, back when I was getting slammed, he was I don't want to get into the whole story again, but no, Patton Salon.com, one of the shittiest fucking, which I, like an idiot, I used to read Salon.com.
I wrote for that for like 4 or 5 years.
I would read it to be mad. I realized, I'm like, why am I doing this? Why am I reading this? To say, I can't believe this.
I read them sometimes to laugh, like, because it's funny to me. But if you're getting mad,
but there was a whole war about comedy, and they were attacking Patton as like a, I don't know if they were saying toxic male back then, but he was the aggressive, bad comedian.
Really?
Oh, yeah, it was a whole thing. Patton was a big comedy is okay joke. The Trump thing, that's where they had to join the resistance or whatever the fuck, and you never get out. And so, like,
but even then, he was insulated. Just to like go back to my original thing that you disagreed with to some degree. Like, he was still insulated by the fact that he was part of this like alt comedy clique. And that was, he wasn't, telling everyone, I think differently than this whole clique. He was kind of, and everyone has some version of that.
Well, that clique wasn't completely transformed at the time. See, that clique changed. That clique changed because it wasn't always like that. It was, in fact, remember when hipsters...
I just don't think that's an example of him going against consensus, because I still think that was the like popular.
You're right, because most of the people were like, yeah, no, free speech.
And that was what ran comedy at the time, like that kind of like alt thing. That was, and still to some degree is, like mainstream comedy at the time. So as far as comedy goes, that was like the mainstream opinion of what
he was also. He straddled the two worlds of both King of Queens and some, like.
Yeah, that's true. He has done a lot of weird things.
So like, but I'm reading. We did on Jimmy's show because I like Patton. I don't dislike him all. Like I
thought Jimmy and Coleman arguing when we did the Seller podcast was like interesting when those guys kind of.
Oh yeah, I want to anyway.
Well, I thought it was like a tiny little thing, but it's like it was an interesting debate. Coleman Hughes and Jimmy. It was like just a few little things they disagreed with, but they're so different. Whereas Coleman's very like measured in everything.
He's half robot. I had him on the show,
and Jimmy
is
very
like smart.
And they're both very smart, and Jimmy's very like hyperbolic, almost, more in a comedic sense.
Yeah, because it's an autistic talking to a guy who's like filled with like.
So isn't it interesting,
Yeah, and that's where you see most of the problems too are caused by these turbo nerd. I like Coleman a lot, but a lot of these turbo nerds that are in places of power fundamentally don't understand how to talk to humans. Like they all have Nanette syndrome.
Does, though.
No, Coleman does, but
yeah.
There's a thing that alt scene was mostly made of those like I was socially awkward. I still am to a large degree. I just am like there's like this little element of like I can't leave my clique of all, like when Paul F. Tompkins tweeted that he never had he grew up in Philadelphia and never had a black friend.
Nice.
Until he was 30. I'm like, in Philadelphia, how do you not just trip over one black friend?
Do you think he was sort of saving himself for marriage? Like he wanted to wait? He was like, he didn't think he deserved it yet. He wanted to wait till it was right.
No, he was advocating white fragility. Like, you've got to read this book.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? You are an upper class white woman. That's what you are. Like, upper
this
class
book was
white
written for you, by you.
I don't have a problem with that book, the bitch talking to herself or other bitches like her. I'm just like, don't tell me that's how I feel stupid. That's your...
No.
So,
well, I've had that to me, and it was like, dude, half my family's black. Like, it's just like, what are you, the fuck are you talking
That's how
about?
Racists usually cover up their racism, so
Yeah.
Dude, someone said that a good friend of mine says, this is how insane, when I'm like, you hear something, you're like, oh, this is how insane shit is. Okay. And this is not a dude who's like a, whatever, like he's a good guy, man. But he goes, this is going to sound racist, but I have a lot of black friends. Now, he wasn't like about to say something racist.
Well, that's because defending yourself's racist. Yeah, like
in advance.
Like, yeah.
So somebody either attacked him or he's aware of an attack because you saying you have a lot of black friends. That's one of the most racist things. How insane that fucking is.
Yeah, really. Well, it's any defense of your like racism is racist.
Everything's a dog with. So it's like we're all in a political campaign forever. So whatever you say, I got to try to interpret it in the shittiest possible strategic way because it's a dog whistle.
That's saying it. That's like me telling people is like that I bone a lot. It's like anti-sex positive. You know what I mean? You go, this is going to sound like I'm not sex positive.
Isn't it interesting? The dog whistle, like a dog whistle is a thing a dog can hear, but not a human, right? Because the frequency, so a racist dog whistle, how come I can't hear it, but you can hear it? It's weird. You can hear a dog whistle that's like only for dogs.
Yeah.
They're trained to spot them. They're like whistle sniffing dogs, though.
Yeah, exactly.
they're a separate breed of dog that's been trained to sniff the
They say when you point a finger, you've got three pointing back at you. That's what I think. Yeah. But wait. So what Patton wrote about Chappelle, we read it, okay? And so you can see his inner battle with like he's a comic and also he's part of this fucking shit that he has to stay in for his
and you
child.
get in too deep at some point that it is what it is.
He's in too deep, so he can't. So he goes. I hope he made some stupid thing about like Dave not supporting trans rights. And this is why I realize every time the topic comes up, everybody dances around what the fight is about unless they want to get labeled as something. And so Patton didn't want to fucking get into it in the thing. the bottom line is the term trans women are women. People don't even want to get into it's such a hassle to even talk about that specific thing. Are trans women women? Because most people don't. It's not a matter of being phobic or whatever, and they support. And hey, you want to be referred to as a woman? You got it. You know, but we are women. Like that. I can't believe it's not butter. It's not butter. You know, it sometimes can be a healthy substitute for butter. But I don't think if it kills itself, you know, that's my fault because I said it's not butter. It's called I can't believe it's not butter. So that shit is what causes all the problem. And so
if you've got to think all the things, how much must you hate like that comedy turned into like a bunch of people that like talk for 5 hours a day and like they actually have these huge discussions over all the issues. We're like that must be so frustrating to be the guy that's like, hey, all the issues are settled and like your genre of like what you do for a living is slowly morphing in to like where you discuss all these things to the fucking bone.
I have this podcast for that reason. This is why it's called Can't Get Right. It ain't good. And you know why? It's where I do all of this.
Yeah.
I got two other things where I do comedy. Go watch them. This is what, because I can't believe. Anyway.
It would suck to be, you know, the other thing where you go, you're kind of the like, hey, we don't talk about all this stuff. All the issues are settled. Here are the right opinions. And then like your thing slowly becomes into we discuss all the issues. And you're like, well, I don't really even know as much of these because I've never had an argument the other way. So it's like
they don't have no sense of. This is a thing that I got a very acute sense of from being.
That would suck.
Like I was always a nerd. I was not like a jock or whatever. Like so when I got to these rooms that were like that, the alt ones, they treated me like I was some kind of fucking like I don't know what in the like. It's just having an accent and a bunch. That's all.
No,
it takes.
you're big and you got like
maybe you're a big guy.
But they can't believe that
you're like kind of a guy's guy.
They can't. I mean, it's
no,
like,
not necessarily.
I'm hairy, but.
No, you have energy. Like you just have like a fucking like no bullshit kind of attitude. That like, what the fuck?
It's not like a hard thing to like.
No, but feminine like alt energy is very like you'd be kind of snippy with people, but at the time you'd be very in agreement. Your natural instinct is like, what was that thing you said?
Yeah, well, that's the thing that's how you get into the. So that's why that's an upper class thing. Alt was always that is because
you can put it in. You're right.
They can't. You got to be able. We can bring you around. Like, could someone bring me to Martha's Vineyard? And
that's 1,000. You're right. Yeah,
I say yes, but a lot of people say no.
No, you're so right. It'd be you at a table with someone, or like people like you, and then you know, the top person starts saying wild stuff, and everyone just knows you. Kind of let them say it. Yeah.
What's that guy? Seth Meyers. I don't know him. I met his brother a few times, and I liked him a lot. His brother that was on Mad TV. I guess the second best.
Artie Lang, yeah.
His brother Artie Lang. And somebody was telling me like that's what his thing is to like get into society, and like I think he had like a wedding in Martha's Vineyard and all that, and that's why whenever I see his clips come up on my fucking YouTube feed, they're all like these things I don't care about, you know. Like
I always just notice how much makeup he has on. That's my main thing when I watch the show.
Myers?
Yeah, like even with Fallon, you don't really notice it. No, but the clips come up like what Kurt says, and I swear, like
you turn it off after you come.
I am flabbergasted. Like he just looks like a guy that just got fucking caked on makeup. Because some of them they're trying to go from 60 to 50. He looks like he's trying to go from like 55 to 20. Like
dude, that's what showbiz does. It makes a man into a like. And you do have to worry about your fucking makeup because you're on TV and you'll look like you're a million times worse than you are.
Yeah, I think it suits some people better though. Like David Spade, they cake it on, and it honestly kind of works. I like buy the fucking
with
thing.
A little bit of
that's what I'm
foundation.
saying. Seth Meyers, it looks like a fucking when you polish a turd.
Yeah, like
I can see that. It's not fooling me. I'm telling you.
Okay, Mike, can you possibly find this joke because a friend of mine, a buddy of mine, a buddy of mine. Do you know about this dude?
What's that?
I only heard of it from a buddy of mine in high school texting me. Because he heard Jay and Soder talking about it. But do you know Drew Michael? Did you ever meet that comic?
Yeah, the stuttering guy?
Is Drew Michael a stutterer?
Or maybe I'm thinking somebody else.
No, I know who you're talking about, the one Monterey opens for.
Drew
Michael.
Thing?
Okay, Mike, do you know what I'm talking about? Here's a joke. Why did the chicken cross the road? And they were people tried to I heard it's the most spectacular. Yeah, what maybe like this part we'll just cut until he comes back. Okay, because I heard it was like the worst fucking joke, and it was described to me where I'm like, I don't even believe you. But
Seth Meyers?
No.
Oh, okay.
Drew Michael. Do you know him?
Not really.
Drew,
Maybe if I
hold on,
saw him.
look at.
I talked to him like once or twice, but I got nothing against him. But supposedly this closing joke he has is so awful.
You're putting him on blast? What is it? I'm on all the
I'm not
dating
trying to put him
apps.
on blast.
I'm
I
on all
haven't
the
seen
dating
it.
apps. Tinder, Uber, hardware.com.
I was just told it was awful, but I want to see it and judge for myself. I don't know.
I
that
don't.
it's
I don't
awful.
know. I don't know who this is.
You don't?
No, I'm looking at it. It doesn't look.
Oh my God. Is it? You think it's an easy to find thing?
Oh, no, I'm thinking of Drew Lynch. Is who I'm thinking.
Yes,
of.
not Drew Lynch. Drew Michael.
No,
He was
I don't
like
know.
Gerard Carmichael's buddy he's from Chicago. He had
I don't
he had that
recognize this guy,
HBO
though.
special that was like an all black background and kind of like,
He looks like
Yeah,
an LA guy.
yeah, he's a Chicago guy.
Oh, sort of a Ricky Velez look.
He's got a bit of a Velez look to him, yeah,
Yeah.
but without the drop crotch pants that.
He looks like he wears some drop crotches.
Dude, Ricky Velez used to date this girl way back when I was living there and I first met him. I always liked him too, by the way. I thought he was funny.
Yeah, I like him too.
His I don't think he's with this girl anymore, but she was like a fashion designer, so he was like the first person I ever saw in wearing drop crotch pants, like in person, like.
They came to Toronto pretty early where everyone was kicking that look.
But I know there's like a hint of drop crotch. You know, there's levels of it, but he had.
Oh, he's wearing the ones that
Dude.
you look like Sinbad.
Yes, he was like an MC Hammer level.
Yeah.
You know, like it was amazing.
Yeah, yeah. It's like a cross line between your, fashion guy at a bar to you're on a runway.
Yeah, well, it's because you had a girl that was, that's why I never, I don't have good hair, so that's how that's how hairdressers would.
No, I never let girls dress me. They're always trying to put, I'll wear this strap on. I go, I'll do just fine with what I have. Take
They
my
want you to
non-normative
wear the
dick.
strap on. Is what
Yeah,
you're saying.
they said they'd like to be fucked by a real man for the first time, allegedly. And I said, this is just a non-normative boning. I will not take this disrespect.
I'm looking for it too, Mike. So do you know about this joke, the Drew Michaels "Why the Chicken Crossed the Road" closer?
No.
It's
Was it because because there was a lot of racism against chickens at the other side of the road?
I think you're overestimating how good it is by saying that. But
Okay.
look, I was told it says, I just want to play, and we're going to cut this part of we're trying to find it. Don't worry. If you were worried about the editing of it, the leading up to finding it will be cut out. Okay. Drew Michael, "Why the Chicken Crossed the Road." Oh, is this it? Guys, it's time to take a break and talk about our friends at rockauto.com. Great store, great sponsor. It's online. They got every auto part at the best prices. It's as simple as that. Do you work on your car? Do you have a garage? Do you need car parts? Do you want to not go into a brick and mortar store for brick and mortar hassles? Well, why not go online and find exactly what you need without dealing with some nonsense at rockauto.com? It's good for everybody. There's no sales. You get the same great prices because a middleman's being cut out. They pass the savings to you. They've been in business for 20 years. They make it easy to find the parts you need, and they've got the best possible prices. I don't know what else you want if you need stuff for your car. What else do you want me to tell you? So if you're a car guy, right now go to rockauto.com and check out all the parts available for your car. You're going to love it so much. rockauto.com. There's no promo code needed at all because their pricing is already that good. Don't believe me? Go to rockauto.com. And when you order, make sure to tell rockauto.com that you heard about them on the Can't Get Right podcast with me, Kurt Metzger. I would really appreciate it. I'd like them to know that I care for them as much as they care for us. rockauto.com. Okay, let's get back to it. God damn it. Is it not? It's not possible to find? I'll just read what he told me.
It's on his special, and his special's on HBO Max. They're like, you got to pay for it.
Oh, jeez.
But I'm looking for the clip, and I can't find the clip either.
Okay, I'm going to read you what he told me.
Guys, in the industry, we call this prep.
Okay, so this is a comment. Here, I'm going to send this to Okay, we can look at this together.
Well, this is just good quality podcasting right here.
I said we're going to cut it.
A+ Pog.
Here, Mike.
No, I like the idea of you just sort of watching it yourself.
Hold on.
It's like a Kurt reacts to videos where you just sort of watch them yourself and laugh. You don't really tell people what's happening.
Okay, Mike, I just texted you this. We'll put it up because It's the comment, I think, under his video or under the bonfire. I couldn't believe what I was reading, so I just want to make sure you see it. Oh my God. Did you get it?
Yeah, I just got it now. I got to email it to myself.
Oh, I should have sent it by email. I apologize.
Oh,
This is
good,
my
oh, good. It
podcast.
takes 2 seconds.
No, I apologize. I said I apologize. Does trans women or women mean legally? Is that what it is? Is that what they mean by that? Or
No,
am I
they
supposed to
mean
infer-
there's no
biological
difference.
here.
They
They're just
mean
like, we're
there's-
biological. That was the biggest one where they were like, we're women, and you go, okay, we'll call you women, and they go, we're also
No, you gotta believe it.
biological. They're like, we're biological women, and you have to believe it, and then people are like, what? No, that's kind of a.
But this is a crazy thing. People I talk to will be like, no one's saying that. They're not even aware that that's a thing anyone's saying. They're like, that's some crazy. That's the thing that's amazing is this stuff is so absurd. If you don't really look at it, then you hear about it. You're like, that's probably some propaganda. There's no way it's that. And then
There's a lot of those. Me and Danny
You're
just
like-
did a sketch with Kara and Vian. That was the reverse, but we did like a news panel discussing it very seriously. Should trans men, like women transitioning to men, be able to compete in the men's nagathon because they're at an advantage in nagging because they spent their whole lives as women. And it's like, but we did it all seriously. But it's like, well, they have a lot of muscle memory from nagging ex-boyfriends, nagging friends, and they go, yes, but we're having this serious debate.
they've got fast twitch nag muscles.
All that muscle
funny.
memory just doesn't disappear overnight.
Dude, the sports, that's what my favorite part is. Besides comedy, for some reason, sports is where the problem of that statement shakes out is women's sports, which is like,
Yeah.
you know how you know it's a. So all the people tell me, like, no, it's not. People have said, like, well, scientists say, a study said that it's not. They're not stronger just because they were born a man.
Yeah. We did all the arguments.
I go, you're not a sports fan, right? Because the people that would buy into that are people that don't care about sports. And
I
they're
mean,
like,
it's a hard conversation to have because it's just like anyone with a brain is like, yeah, no, women aren't as good at sports as men.
That's right.
Yeah, you're sort of telling
Well, you don't hear.
like,
there's-
I'm like, if I'm having a conversation,
That's the
you're
larger point.
legitimately arguing with that, you're just like, I'll tell you what, buddy, like, good seeing you, but it's
Dude,
like,
but that's the
so
main that's
crazy.
the main point of it that's what it all boils down to. Because this is how I know is you never hear a controversy about some trans woman to man.
you don't say,
Yeah, like that never comes up that it wasn't fair that a trans man competed. So that's how you know there's a big difference.
No, you don't. You never hear of a girl transitioning
Okay.
and then
So
winning the male hot dog eating competition.
so this is Phil Hanley up there. Ignore him. But this is somebody commenting on, which I have HBO.
He looks
Max
like,
up
I
there.
thought for a second, I was like, wait, were you watching Adam Levine videos?
Wait, where'd it go?
The guy from Maroon 5, it looks like.
No, Phil Hanley. He's not wearing sweaters anymore. All right, so this guy is complaining. He goes, the closer of Drew Michaels' special is, why did the chicken cross the road? This guy writes poorly. Why did the chicken cross the road? And then he has to read it off his phone because it's a 3-minute monologue about how the chicken is an offensive comedian who tells racist, sexist, homophobic jokes to hide his pain. That's the last 15 minutes. That's fucking amazing. That sounds like something we do on Pussies.
Is that what it is, actually?
That's why I was trying to see the clip. I'm gonna verify it on HBO Max actually, because I have to see it for myself. It's probably like The Matrix where you.
So you just read that, you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my god, could this be what it is? Like so, and he read it off his phone. That's the fucking. I want to see every.
So
bit
it's
of
kind
it.
of like why the chicken crossed the road. Well, to start with, you know, what I mean, the chicken got into comedy at 18, and he thought that he was going to make some good in the world. And there's that kind of vibe.
That's what I think from what I read,
That's a good.
but I
shit.
won't know till I read it. But what I do know is somebody should have said, maybe don't do that long.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
then-
but
Also,
and
it's
then
crazy
he goes-
that that's on HBO. Like HBO was literally forever like the fucking absolute
I
like
know.
tops for comedy. Like
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of like how the New York Times was like the paper of record, you know, and now you're just like you say that like
Even when it
Ironically,
was, by the way, it wasn't. Like I didn't. You know the Kitty Genovese story that's in Watchmen. The guy telling like about how a woman got it was a famous story that was like a "What's the world coming to" story about this girl, Kitty Genovese, that got raped, and none of the neighbors called the police or tried to help her.
Yeah, isn't it like yeah, of course.
And then Rorschach,
because everybody else thought someone else was going to do it.
Yeah, and Rorschach, that's what inspired him to become a Batman with a smelly Batman is basically what he is. So, so it turns out. So I saw a documentary. So that's horseshit. Lots of people call the police. Doesn't forever get there. Some people went out to check on it. Like, it's not even nearly what you've heard. It's completely wrong. New York Times. Okay, so the documentary's from Kitty Genovese's brother. Okay, who was so disturbed by the fake story that he heard, he went to Vietnam and he lost both his legs. So the documentary is him in a wheelchair with missing legs going to New York Times reporter who fucking reported that and asking, why did you do that? And first of all, I didn't finish the documentary. It was so depressing I didn't watch. I assume it's a lot more mind-blowing shit in it. It was such a downer. The whole thing was such a downer. I'm like, fuck.
And the end of the
thing, you know what the reporter said? Because it was
that's why the chicken crossed the road. That's what she said.
And that's why the aristocrats.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to do
and that reporter's name was the aristocrat.
Yeah, I'm going to do a toxic masculine TED Talk aristocrats joke.
Yeah. I like the idea of that guy doing his and toxic, and that's why, and that's the end of this 60-minute sermon. So I'm going to be passing a hat around.
You don't want to name the
to pass the bucket sermon around to collect money after your fucking.
By the way, I love the message of how men aren't crying enough.
And
then anything, the slightest complaint in a non-emotional
they haven't seen me
voice,
getting pegged.
They go, stop crying. Stop crying a little bit. You just say something unreasonable. Like, I don't know if that's stop crying.
Yeah. Which is it?
Stop. Like, all right. I'm really disappointed I couldn't get that Drew Michael thing. I feel like I would have been a better person. And
well, we got the gist of it. Next episode, you play the final thing, and that is the aristocrats. It's a 2-episode aristocrats.
If he said the aristocrats at the end of it, would that save the joke? Can you do an aristocrats callback? Does anybody even remember the aristocrats?
And that's why you should not fire me from my writing gig.
Have you ever in your life, do you remember that when the documentary Aristocrats came out?
Yeah.
That joke. Had you ever in your life heard anyone tell that joke before?
No, every single one of those people got really into it. No. I think Gilbert Gottfried did one on a roast once.
But after the documentary came out. They made it seem like,
I don't know.
Here's a joke all comedians tell.
We all have one.
Yeah, like every comedian knows it.
Everyone's got
a... Never heard that.
And the only one that was kind of funny was, what's her name? Female comic. She goes, and the family gets strawberries and they dip them in the whipped cream and then they eat the strawberries. Like that's, she just did a very clean one. Oh. And that was the only thing that was mildly funny of the family shits and fucks.
I've never heard of everyone. I know that every comedian ever has an OK Karen joke, but I've not heard about this aristocrats thing.
Does everybody have an OK Karen?
That's the new version. You go, and then, this lady, she was yelling at the manager and they tried to kick her out, but she wouldn't because of her privilege. And then we all looked at her and said, okay, Karen.
Is that a real stand-up you saw, or is that an episode of Shrill?
I mean, you haven't seen a stand-up in LA doing an okay, Karen bit?
Not one time. But
you've never heard a comedian in Los Angeles do a bit about Karens.
I try not to watch the other people's sets. I just go in and do
I saw 3 of them when I was there. Me and Danny went to the Comedy Store twice in a row, and we saw fucking 4 Karen bits.
Oh, wait, you found it?
Here we go.
I'm so happy right now.
Finally, the audience had been edging themselves, and now it's all going to pay off.
Now I'm just stroking to keep my heart out. Okay.
Punch the tip a little bit.
Why did the chicken cross the road? Because he grew up with an untreated hearing loss, which deprived him of a major sensory connection to the people around him, and it isolated him to the point of chronic torture. And his parents realized that the trodden path didn't appeal to him, so he would get high and watch stand-up comedy as a way to numb the agony and feel better for a moment, but it never forced him to address any of the reasons he actually felt like shit. he so badly wanted to feel special, which he justified under the guise of pushing the envelope, which he thought was an act of justified rebellion against some arbitrary authority. A lot of those boundaries are derived from real people's feelings and experiences, and he was essentially exploiting their actual pain and using it as a traffic cone, timing more than content. And then one day, all the world's stages boarded up, so he sat alone in a room for a year, and he did nothing but talk to the walls and a therapist, and with no motion to escape into to hurt so badly. And he realized that there was
Take one more stroke.
life in which he was truly happy. And through that, he started to realize how much pain he had caused other incredibly bad person for having done these things. So his instinct was to beat himself up about it until he would ultimately manifest the very same emptiness it's born out of.
I can't.
Yeah, that's probably about enough of that,
I
right?
can't do it.
Making every effort to find
I mean, yeah, it's a poem. He's doing a poem.
That's his closer on his HBO special.
I just won't come. It's
Yeah.
fine.
I mean,
That's a closer on HBO special.
whatever.
First of all,
people can do it. You know, people were doing fucking corny one-man shows forever, but it's just
but
that's what it
if
is.
that
you know?
okay, if that ended, like
A
how
Nanette
could
sort of thing.
what final line could he say that would make that bit? So,
And then
comedy's very simple, by the
he
way.
realized he didn't need to get to the other side. Is that it? Or
No,
is it other side related?
if you had to make that fun, because look,
The N word?
just, dude,
If
that
he-
was
You know
the
what's
first
funny,
thing.
Kurt? There was 10
He
seconds
did
left
drop
of
that.
There was only 10 seconds left.
Yeah, you were right in the
All
like
right.
literally. I skipped over
Fine.
15
Let's
seconds.
Fine, let's
get
hear
it.
the last 10 seconds. I do want
hear
to.
it.
Maybe he's got a great punchline.
If he
there.
said like 9 slurs in a row at the end of that.
I wish. I wish.
No, hopefully it's an audience participation, and the whole audience just yells out "gay." And then that's how it ends.
I was gonna say he couldn't even say this if he farted for like 3 full minutes. If he just did one long fart after this, like, thank you. I was holding that in mind for the entire final bit. All right, press play.
Sit with the quiet inside of himself because he wants so badly to get to the other side.
And he wanted to get to the other side.
Thank you very much.
He realized the other side had way too many homos over there.
Oh, wait a minute. He's saying he's the chicken.
Yeah,
Oh, he means like the chicken was him because he was
there we go.
chicken to make
Yeah.
progress.
he was chicken
wish-
to make progress.
I wish his voice box worked like his ears.
And I realized that the other side, I didn't need to get to the other side because there's a
Dude.
bunch of queers over there. And God doesn't shine
You know
down
what
upon
sucks
him.
though is like that guy like I mean I guess he never had to work that joke out because it's not a joke. Because that would be like agonizing if you're at some show
Dude,
with
that's
him
like
and
I mean, it's tough to take to the
I've
fucking club,
transcended.
yeah.
He's transcended comedy. Like, here's what's so fucking
Kind of what
irritating.
that is,
like,
yeah.
oh, dude, did you have the story that all the comics have? That's really sweet. That's your job is to take those feelings and then turn it into art that you then, give to the
Which he
paying
did. I
audience.
don't know. Maybe that could go viral. I mean, that seems to me of like I bet you this is going to go viral and stuff like that
Oh,
does go
what
viral.
was your clue to that? Was it the viral music? The
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
then the
literally,
sensitive
like, the
piano should come in.
BuzzFeed
No, that is trying to go viral, but like I
Was that
always
after
my
Hannah
pro-
Gadsby?
the thing
That
is
post
with
Hannah
Hannah Gadsby goes, I got raped. I'm out. I didn't even appreciate the tight, concise writing of Hannah Gadsby until I heard this shit.
But the thing is with those, it's kind of like, it's a sort of the white fragility thing you were saying before, where it's like me and Danny always talk about this too, but we know a lot of people that do kind of have that, like that open mic attitude of like, I'm going to say the most heinous shit, like, because that's, whatever. And really they're just kind of, edgelord sort of situations and whatever. Maybe there's a little bit of that in everyone, but it's like, a lot of times that's not the case as well. Like you've said that.
Was
like,
he like that? I don't know his other.
No. I don't know what this guy's like, but I'm saying it's,
Yeah, right.
I
Yes.
think it's the white fragility point you said before, where they're like, and you know how we feel weird around black people. It's the same thing as being like,
Yeah, right.
you just got into saying, kind of stuff against the grain to make yourself feel better. And you're like, no, I changed, I say things about all the things, whatever I feel like the energy pockets are weird, wherever
Right.
I feel like there's misaligned energy, I'll fucking fill the void the other way. And it's like, it's a little more complicated the way that I
the
think a lot of people do comedy.
By the
than
way,
just-
It's called being a good comic. Being a shitty
Yeah.
comic, you just say shitty things just to
Right,
say.
but they think a lot of people, and I don't know this guy, but a lot of people think the only alternative is like edgelord or like completely in line with like every fucking Hollywood thing you're supposed to say. Like there is another third option that's better than both.
Well, you have to join. You have to click up, or you're not.
When you brought him up and I googled him, and then there's a Vulture article, and they reference Hannah Gadsby in the first sentence.
Yeah, well, why wouldn't they?
Like basically comparing it or whatever, and then they go, "There's a new type of comedy," and he goes, "My colleague calls this post comedy." So basically,
like you like it if you're a post.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Is that true? There's a name for it.
That's what he refers to. It's essentially this comedy where it's not comedy, and it's so crazy
because if you have to listen to too much of it, you go postal.
Comedy.
It's just
you guys are missing a lot of good post humor over here. But
no, it's
you know what people compare it to?
You go to a music show and there's just like, hey, everybody sit down. It's Emperor Wears No Clothes. You sit down and you go, hey, this fucking my favorite band's playing tonight, and then nobody comes out, and you just all pretend like you're watching a show for an hour.
Dude, I think it's
and you go, that was amazing.
It's because it's not somebody on another podcast. Some dude said he compared Hannah Gadsby to like punk rock, and I was like, then I thought about it. I'm like, well, I guess because once it does suck when it's like approved by society, like it's not that it was that good, but it had some good live energy.
It's like and that is the debate that goes on, but it's like, is Hannah Gadsby like, not approved by society, or is it legitimate like propaganda for what you're supposed to think? Like the truth is, like Hannah Gadsby, it was approved by the consent, like populace.
Yeah, that's not punk.
Didn't like it, but the like that is in line with what
because
the corporate,
these people think
that's not real.
But if you're a twit, like to come up with a term like post fucking what was it?
Post comedy.
To come up with that for a thing that's just not comedy. Like what's packed into that is like if you actually liked comedy, which is just laughing at something that makes you laugh, and then you're like, the comedy I like now is where it's not even like punk rock. It's like the difference between music and being completely silent. It's that different of a thing.
Yeah,
like the new music is no sound whatsoever.
But this is the problem.
This is like the intellect. Yeah, this is like the intellectuals coming into it, and they have to fucking they have to put their. It's like art or whatever, where there's a million different types.
But isn't that all fine? Like to me, the annoying part about Hannah Gadsby is you had everyone in the world being like, "Actually, this is great."
Yes,
I haven't heard a million people shoving me down my throat.
This is
like,
sad
this is
because
the actual new comedy.
Dude, this is sad because you could see that he got himself to love Big Brother.
He thought this was going to be like a pretty. He thought this was going to change the paradigm.
Dude, he got to the other side. He loves Big Brother, right? And so now that's what the fuck that speech is.
That kind of is what it is.
The chicken was afraid to love Big Brother, and now he loves Big Brother. That's what he's telling you. And the thing is, he must have not read the whole story because they shoot you in the head after. Dude, you're a white male. No one in the industry you're trying to impress with this. Seth Meyers, all the Jimmys and that Hannah can play about, they've already filled the spots for you.
Spots are a little filled.
Like for you,
that's why he had to go extra. It's kind of like the white rapper.
So say he's on HBO.
No, but if you're gonna be the white guy, like trying to say this stuff, you got to be fucking, extra. You got to be fucking extra,
right? Or you could find a very funny way to say all those things, like a comedian would do. Now
what? Yeah, not in post comedy though.
That's the thing. Kurt's confusing. He thinks this guy's doing comedy. It's post comedy. And if he opened up his ears,
it's post comedy. The thing is, like, if he got a laugh, he would get off stage, and people would be like, "How did it go?"
Fucking ate it.
Terrible. You know what? Oh God, they all laugh.
You know what?
I'm a fucking hack.
I don't want to even call it post comedy because even saying post comedy implies that some comedy happened.
Yeah.
Like
no, it's no, it doesn't. Post comedy means after comedy. What happens after comedy?
Yeah,
like you stop comedy, shitty life that you lead that led to comedy in the first place.
See, comedy is for the fucking, all you fucking simpletons doing comedy. Us, the smart people that have risen above, we don't need laughter anymore. We're in a different paradigm. We're operating on different paradigms.
I laugh. That's what Christian Finnegan said. What time is? I don't laugh. I laugh.
Yeah,
dude. I want to. I'll tell you who I'd like to punch right in their fucking face. Whoever invented the term. Punching down comedy.
Yeah.
I would like to get on a stepladder and punch down at their fucking face for the dumbest. I've never heard a stupider analogy for what comedy is than punching up and down. I know it came from an improv scene because it's that kind of.
Well, it's so weird because if for example, if you make fun of someone that's mentally retarded, they'll say it's punching down, but in reality, it would be punching downs.
All right,
who the fuck do you know? Dude,
did you like that more or worse than my post joke?
Dude, I've never seen anyone in my entire life personally. Apparently it happens, but I've never seen it in a New Jersey bully fucking environment. Even the biggest bully wouldn't go up to and make fun of someone with Down syndrome. Now, they might laugh at a picture in the yearbook, but they wouldn't do the cruelty of actually attacking somebody with the thing that's mean, like, and that's somebody that, like, you know, that's something where they're like, oh, that's too mean. That's like a limit. The thing now is, I look down on you, like it's punching down because
you haven't
I'm
seen
above
Danny's
you.
DVD that he released, JQ versus low IQ, and then they fight it out on the
With JQ.
Jewish question. Like the Jewish
Wait,
question.
was that a thing?
The Jewish question of how many can he punch in this DVD? The age-old question.
But it implies you think that's how you could tell these people think their status is, because they're like, oh, like, I don't know, New York, you're going to have some homeless joke at some point because something crazy is going to happen and you're just walking down the fucking street that you're going to make a joke about. And I would see people like, I think that's just hacky to mock the homeless. And like, well, not really.
Well, it depends what's happening. Yeah.
It's
their
like
thought
academics coming into comedy.
Yes,
and, like,
I'm above you. Like if I saw Sherrod was going to punch a fucking homeless dude that tried to like intimidate him. In that moment, it doesn't matter what our fucking status is. You're trying to start a fight with someone. And usually people
punching down when he does it because he's a minority.
They were both minorities. It was a tough call.
Well, then that's not punching down. That's just
if
dealing
we're
with
a
a homeless person.
If somebody like is in a fight with you, there's only straight across, and also it's not punching. By the way, comedy's not punching. It's
but also like
medicine.
a lot of it is a kind of medicine, and a lot of things that are like you can add rules to them, but the same way that they're meant to be broken, like the same way that people say you need rule of threes, right? I do lots of time where I just do two. You know what I mean? Or something like that, right?
Oh, you cut it short at
Drew
two.
Michael
he does the rule of 15 minutes of monologue.
Yeah. But yeah, he does the rule of 20,000. But my point is, if you're looking to fucking dismiss comedy and make rules about it, you're like, well, not always. And they're like, we don't have time for not always. These are the rules, moving on. Like, they don't have time.
And then
for
you're like,
no, that's settled
like, who are
science
you?
shit,
And you're
yeah.
like,
Yeah, it's settled
I
science.
have a degree in sociology from.
Yeah,
you go, yes, it's like
so you're
that,
an
but not
expert.
always.
So would you say you're an expert in your fucking field? Like, I don't know,
Well, an
someone did it for
expert would know that
25
it's not
years.
always. It's like the smart people know that it's not always. Like, even if you talk about like what's the smallest particle, or what's the smallest thing of particle, the smart people will be like, that's the smallest.
But the main thing to me is the fact that they think of it. The fact they think of comedy, look, anybody who thinks of comedy as punching, it tells you what kind of a shitty little cruel person they are. Comedy's not punching. Even mocking, the cellar table, the whole point of getting mocked there was you were being included.
Yeah,
so these are people that can't tell the fucking difference between exclusion, which is what they all do. The same people that say this are all about exclusion, which is the cruelest form of punishment.
We
and
just
they don't
call them girls.
Yeah, but it's guys now too. I mean, I used to be able to, but now the world's all topsy-turvy.
It is more like feminine dynamics than masculine dynamics.
That's right. It's feminine fucking dynamics.
Male dynamics is like you make fun of people when you like them. Girls dynamics is they make fun of someone when they need to take them down a peg. You know what I mean?
But I didn't realize how much it was that, because all the women I know, and I know many funny women, they all have a male dynamic about it. They all
a lot
have
of them do.
dynamic.
Yeah, of course. I can think of 10 people off the top of my head. They're like, they make, if they're making fun of people when they like them. It is sort of of course, it's not across the board, but it is the difference of, does your friend group make fun of the people that, you like, or does your friend group make fun of the people that like you think have been stepping out of line and they need to be shown a lesson?
They don't like, it's a comedy's medicine. And so it could hurt you if it's not your fucking medicine. That doesn't mean you get rid of medicine for everyone.
Great theory.
There's nothing with punching. Nobody's going there to get punched. I know punchline's a thing, but that's not.
The medicine theory is very accurate. And it's like, it wasn't for you, but for someone else, it was the right thing for them. But you know what? By that logic, you have to say maybe this is someone's medicine. This like 10-hour fucking. You know what I mean?
Sure, it probably is, but it's not comedy. I'm just saying it's not comedy. Comedy is like so very simple. Like
that's true.
Is there the potential that I'm going to laugh at it? Would you? Okay, now it's like a one-man show or something. Great. That's what you know. What
that's what Hannah Gadsby was like. Everybody was like, "Stand. This is the thing of stand up, and you're like, this is a one man show.
That'd be funny though, accidentally going to that. Like if you're just a guy showing up at the show, like, oh yeah, we're in town. Like, oh, there's a comedy show playing, and then just be like, are we being pranked right now?
I personally,
Is this Jamie Kennedy?
Yeah, the music comes on. They're like, what the fuck?
I make a I.
Are we in the right place right now?
If you make a decision to laugh, then it wasn't. I'm deciding to laugh. You should never have any choice in if you laugh or not. The best laugh should be you're like, I should not be making fun of this or laughing at it, and that's the sweetest fucking, the sweetest plum of the whole thing. I wish I could yell in Drew Michaels' half dead ear right now to stop this. You're a man. No one's gonna fucking support this. The people you're sucking
Like
up
you
to.
wish you knew him, and we could be like, dude, I'm telling you, this whole thing's not.
What do
gonna
you
work
think?
that
Like
good.
the HBO executives are thinking though. Do they see this and they go, "Holy shit, we've done it! Like we did it again!" Like,
Or they gave him the
No.
special, and he sort of gave them the cut of what it's going to
I
be.
think I don't know if Gerard
Interesting.
directed it. You know, it might have been Gerard. Gerard Carmichael directed the other one he did. So he's
Yeah, who
friends with
knows,
Gerard.
dude? This is like from that like Bo Burnham school. Like it's, I don't know.
That's what I was
it's
just
very
thinking.
possible this is working. And like right now, if you go on the internet, this clip has fucking 10 gazillion views.
Dude.
Like it's very possible this is working. I don't know.
At least when Bo Burnham does his little Tweedledee bullshit, he plays his own piano. He doesn't have a. He at least makes a little clever song
Right.
with his word. Holy shit, that's special. I can't even count the amount of people that were like, I thought it was really good. I'm
Do
like,
you know
"Oh,
what my
really?"
synopsis of that special was, Kurt? It was
No.
like, did you watch it?
No, I only was told what it was.
Oh,
about.
but it was interesting. Like I actually felt like, because I think Bo Burnham's funny, and I think that it was almost going through what a white dude that really wants to be part of this industry, because it does start with him
Yes.
being like, I'm gonna make fun of this stuff, and then they go, okay, what if I make fun of the acceptable targets? And he was like, you know, the left-wing perspective on
right.
companies not caring, let's say you know, white women are annoying, like he made fun of the acceptable things, and then he was like, why don't we just all shut up? And it was kind of like, you go that way. Like you see the next step is be like, everyone's talking too much because you know you can't say what you actually think. And then the end step for anyone that goes through that ideology is ultimately, I'm depressed. That's the final form of that comic.
no,
Like, I'm a
you know what
depressed.
annoys me about it?
Therapy comedy.
Dude,
That's the final form of that thing.
What annoys me about it is the thing you just said of like his white guy stress of, am I going to be the thing of like, am I going to be in the industry? It's that thing at the top I talked about, that career bullshit. And it makes me fucking Kyle on the after party show. And I encourage him to do this. He told a terrible long story about this girl he knows that got kicked off American Idol because of something. She was like picked for Annie and got fired from that, and then some other thing. And he was playing the video and telling us, and he had some incident where he was dating a contestant on American Idol or America's Got Talent and wasn't supposed to be. And there was like somebody coming around the hotel room, so he had to hide in the bathroom. And this girl, who's this great singer that got fired, she walked in the room and he called out, hey, no, don't worry, I'm in your bathroom. It's me. I'm his boyfriend. She screamed and ran out of the room because the man said, hey, I'm in your bathroom. Don't worry. But it took a long time to get there. And Kyle's such a song and dance like an actor, dude. Like it was totally lost on me, this girl's pain of like, oh, you're not going to be a fucking American Idol fucking pretty princess. Like, I give a shit, bitch. Like, that's how I feel listening to her story. But he really identified with it. What happened?
Nothing.
Oh. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm actually sickened by people's showbiz dreams worked into their work. Like, oh, was there a place for me in this industry? Like somebody making a thing about that.
Well,
I'm like,
it's
you're
you know,
such a.
It's always kind of once you like realize that you're the subject, like you have to insert yourself into that story, sort of, right? So you have to make it about like what I'm doing to sort of like that is the narrative. Like for a guy that's sort of in this thing is you're like, how do I fit into this and also be the right thing, right? And that becomes like the journey you're trying to sell.
It's such a fucking chick way to go about life, isn't it?
Well, but that as soon as you accept,
I man spread in life,
right? But as soon as you accept that I'm going to say all their things, that's the only way to go about it, because there is no masculine way to go about, like, you know, following all the rules and doing it. Like anyone that goes about it if you're going to break things down and like do things your own way and do a path that like isn't the acceptable one, you can't do it while following this stuff. So it's like only way to follow that thing is a feminine way. There is no masculine path version of that.
It's amazing to watch that drain out. Like I watched it happen, I fucking
know.
kind of participate in it, to be honest. Like,
You know what I even find is feminine? Like, you ever seen the big, like, tough guys that are like, just so you know, if anyone says anything sexist, you go through me. It's sort of like, it's almost like you're putting like a masculine like hat on like a feminine like little thing. Like,
it sounds like PC Principal
yeah,
from
PC
South
Principle.
Park.
It's exactly PC Principle. Fuck, they nailed everything. It's 100% PC. There's a lot of PC principles out there.
No, it's amazing watching people try to, because by the way, toxic masculinity is very real, and it's usually a thing that afflicts women. For the most part, I've seen it's mostly women who are toxically masculine, where you're like, Jesus, can you fucking, is this what you think a man does? You think a man acts like this? It's like what they imagine a man is.
There is a guy that like I'll give it to them when you go, it's the person that like can't stop punching drywall, just like like that guy. You go, yeah, probably we can all agree that's like a bit much. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's just toxic. That's not like he's a man.
Fair. Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah,
like,
you're right.
What's the thing that's a quality?
Why is it toxic? Well, it's toxic masculinity because it's a masculine thing to like punch things.
What's like good masculine?
Protecting people, I guess. Yeah.
What, with punching? Like that. This is why it's fucking stupid. The whole term. It's a nonsense thing.
Well,
like,
toxic's when you're using it bad is, I guess, the idea, right?
Yeah, but how would that be different than someone like?
Well, you can have good and bad.
You know what I think is a masculine thing is only using the amount of power you need to use and no more than that. As opposed
that
to
would
like,
be
because I always used to say like all anger problems I had growing up, I didn't consider them masculine anger. They were bad anger things, but they were feminine.
Let's say this:
you're going to pay for not just what happened now, but everything that ever happened to me. You're going to pay for that kind of anger. That's chick anger. That's what I had in me. I didn't get abused by a man. I got abused by a woman. So, you know, and that was more bipolar than the woman part. You know what I
they're
mean?
all a little complicated where you're trying to put it into boxes that don't really fit.
You could just say toxic, probably.
Yeah, I
but
think you're probably right.
It's not as good if you don't like label a thing. So somebody, you ever see that Simpsons where Marge goes to Lisa, like, when you're older, you'll see that marriage is a constant battle for moral superiority. Like that's what the women's role is, moral superiority, and that's what you want. And
well, if you don't attach the masculinity to it, then they don't have the added benefit where like, oh, by the way, we can't do it. You know what I mean? Oh, by the way,
it's an imbalance.
Yeah, but that's the
balance. Everybody.
Well, you do this sometimes. They go, no, we don't. It's toxic masculinity.
Well, what makes me laugh is this sketch. I think it was on Schumer that Amy's sister I really did like a lot, and she but she had a sketch that was like about how men never apologize and women are always apologizing. Do you remember when ads were coming out? They were saying women should stop apologizing so much.
Yeah.
And
I think we talked about this actually. Now.
Yeah, I'm like, first of all, I can think of 2 women that accept apologies that I've met in my life. Two. Okay, one of them's Esty from the Cellar, honest to God, and that's probably because she fought in the 6-Day War and knows what it feels like to kill an Arab with her bare hands. So she's a little bit more.
Did she really fight in this? She fought in the Israeli army?
Well, yeah. So I don't know. Colin Quinn always says she watched the life drain out of a man, and she's like. But you could apologize. I'd be like, hey, see, I fucked up and whatever. Okay, because I admitted it and apologized. I've almost never seen that in life anywhere where a woman accepts a fucking apology until she's good and fucking ready to accept it whenever she gets over anger. What I have seen is women will apologize for anything except a thing they actually fucking did. So whatever bullshit they do, no, I didn't do that. But
that's not what I'm mad about. They go, well,
I'm sorry for racist. I'm sorry for George Floyd. Like, oh, is that where you feel personally? That was how you contributed? Was just that?
Yeah.
I wasn't loud enough.
I'm sorry for your whiteness. It's like, no, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about you showing up 4 hours late.
Yeah, or just like you blathering about women and telling me about the bitch you hate at work for fucking 2 hours just after you got done talking about women. I mean, that, take your pick. Anybody's ever blathered to you about women like that, if you dated them, they had nothing but bad things to say about women.
Yeah.
I haven't really dated anyone that was like completely, brains fried from this stuff, at least for more than a very, very bit. So I've never had this, like, the contradiction of like, men are bad and this and that.
Well,
but also,
I'm thinking they said it before I was dating them, and they kind of like they
snapped them out.
This sounds very. I don't want to sound toxic masculine, but it turns out a lot of them literally like your dick solves their problem. Like, I know it doesn't sound good. I know it doesn't sound good, But it's like, think of incel
Very
men
toxic.
that
Yeah.
don't, they
Non-normative therapy. That's what we call that.
Yeah, like it turns out people can get laid sometimes, and it does fuck with your brain. I think Seinfeld covered it in that episode with Elaine, where she got stupid from not fucking,
Yeah, and they got smart.
and George got smarter. All right, I'm out of time. You guys,
Yeah, I gotta wrap.
BOYSCAST, check out what else you got going? Your sketches.
Yeah,
are
check
on,
out the Boys Cast every Friday, youtube.com/Ryan Long Comedy, iTunes, and youtube.com/The Boys Cast with Ryan Long, where we put all the clips and stuff like that.
Nice. And
At Ryan Long Comedy.
I'm going to be in Kenosha at the Kenosha Comedy Club on the 28th and 29th of January. You can go to kurtmetzgercomedy.com. And I got dates.
Rittenhouse is opening, so that'll be cool.
I'm doing a benefit for the Rittenhouse boy. We just want him to have a nice life now that he...
He's a big celebrity.
Now that he's an American hero, we just want him to have the
I like to say that
life he deserves.
they were biased against him. This is just biased against him because he's just got like a really fat, annoying face you want to hit with a skateboard. And that's why that's what this was about. He just has a face you just don't like.
I think all three of them are in the FBI, so that's my new take. They're all pedophiles that are in the FBI.
Oh, all right. Well, you heard it here first.
That is going to be quoted.
Why did the chicken cross the road? I would like to start by saying I was raised Jehovah's Witness. It was a hard time. Oh, you guys don't have to stay for this. I'm just doing my closing monologue. I'm just doing the closing monologue of the show. Sorry.
Yeah. All right, hell yeah.
All right,
I got to go to my
guys.
spots. All right, peace, boys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
peace.
Because I can't get right. Because I can't get right. Yeah. You're listening to Can't Get Right.